Hey, this is Ryan Thomas, and welcome to day 3 of our 10 Days of Hope, where I'm bringing you real stories from real parents who've had breakthroughs, reconnections, and reunifications to help you, give you some hope, to give you some possibilities, to excite your imagination of what could be possible for you by sharing with you stories from parents who've been in your situation, who didn't know if they were ever going to have a relationship with their child again, and then something changed and they came out on the other side. Now, today's story is from a parent named Carolyn, and she was able to reconnect with her son and her 2 grandchildren after 4 years of being rejected. Now, this story is a little bit different than your traditional parental alienation, or where one parent is turning the child against another parent. In this particular situation, Carolyn and her husband had lost their son due to a marriage. The son, who's an adult male, army guy, strong, all of that, marries this woman, and she completely destroys the relationship. And what's fascinating about this is that, there's a lot of parents out there that say, how could my kid, whether it's a teenager or they're smart, they're bright, they know better, how could they succumb to someone else's influence? After all the good, loving times, why would they just cut me out like that? Why would they do that? Well, this is an example of where a 20-something strong army dude ends up getting rid of everybody in his life. His army buddies, his friends, his parents, his sister, all closed off. Just him and his wife. And so, of course, the parents are just distraught. Then they start having a grandchild. Can't see the grandchild. Have a second grandchild. Can't see that grandchild. And they are just frantic because they're missing out on their son's life and now their grandchild's life. And this got really weird because what happened was the wife set it up so that he was not allowed to communicate or text or send photos or anything to his parents, and they were allowed one time on Christmas to have a phone call. And so time is just chugging by and chugging by. And so I had been working with Carolyn and her husband, and I'm trying to give them advice of what's going on inside their son's mind, how he's been so manipulated, the fact that what they see may not be what's actually happening, and that he also knows what kind of a tyrant he's married to and understands, look, if I don't go along with her, I'm going to be the one on the outside. I'm not going to be able to see my kids. And so understandably, as we're doing all of these things to keep pushing to get the relationship back, the parents are like, I just don't understand this. Like, we deserve better than this. He was brought up better than this. I just don't understand it. So it's this constant, you kind of feel like you're about to go over the edge, pull back, try something good. And part of the approach was, look, this other person, she's so unreasonable. We have to appeal to your son so that you appear as the reasonable one. So that when you're sending gifts that she doesn't want to have sent, when you're sending messages that you're trying to get across, when you're having a request, hey, can you just send a picture every once in a while of the family? All of a sudden, it goes, that's reasonable. These are my parents. Why are you being so unreasonable? Instead of doing things that the anger and frustration causes him more chaos, and then it's easier for him to go along and be like, oh, I wish my parents would go away. So what ends up happening is we keep trying and nothing. As always happens, a lot of the time you don't know that change is going on until that breaking point when they change their behavior. And all of a sudden, Carolyn gets a message and it says, I'm in this horrendous marriage. I don't know what to do. I want a relationship with you guys. I want my family back in my life. I want you to see the kids. And then this army dude, strong adult, is literally sending pictures of his family, of the grandchildren, and it's like, I can't get caught. I can't say anything. And so this happens over a period of time. And ironically, they then say to him, this guy has been helping us, named Ryan. would you want to talk to him? So then I start having the opportunity to coach and work with him. And what was so amazing about all of this is that, again, I always, from my own experience and now working with others, I'm anticipating, hey, here's what might be going on. Here's what we think, this is what we're trying to do. But to be able to actually talk to someone who can communicate, who was the alienated person, and having him go, oh my gosh, she was so unreasonable. My parents would come in with all these nice things, and she was just crazy, and it just kept driving a wedge between us because it made me realize, like, she's crazy and my parents are just loving people, and I knew I had to change. And so it was like validation for all of us that the work that these poor, brave, strong parents did was actually having the desired effect. Of course, it was just percolating over time, and we couldn't see whether it was working. But eventually, unfortunately, a lot of what we feared happened was he stood up. He said, no, this is not how I want to live. We can either do it this way or this way. And now he has a battle for his children and that relationship. But from the perspective of living a life that's locked in as an adult that has no freedom and independence, he found his voice. He was able to have a relationship again with his parents. The children were able to see their grandparents. I get messages, oh my gosh, we're babysitting. We're babysitting our 2 kids. It's amazing. This is incredible. Like anything, it's not all easy. It's not all perfect. There's still waves. There's still a roller coaster of emotions, both from past stuff, right? I love my son. I'm glad I had it back, but man, we went through hell. How do I get over that? Or even the old instances. Look, as I always say, when you've got someone, a child of any age, who's lived under that environment for so long where the thinking is, they're bad, you're good, I have to be compliant, it's got a stickiness to it. And so, they still deal with that, some of that, as do other parents who say, my kid is kind of back to normal, but I can still tell that wiring is in there. So those are things that, as they say, sometimes you get locked into, oh my gosh, this is the challenge, but the challenge is, I've got the kid back, I've got my son back, I've got my grandkids back, we'll work it out, we'll figure it out. We have the opportunity to love and support him and to see him and to go on vacations together and babysit together. So this is just, once again, another story, a real life confirmation, which I think was incredible to me, the parents, and I hope is to you, is that once again, when you're able to talk to the person on the other side and they say, I knew it all along, I didn't know how to extract myself. I didn't know how to say enough is enough. I didn't know how to say my parents deserve better. And so, again, this is also, apply this to your own situation and what you might be going through, and especially if you have a younger child who you would naturally think should have strength and stand up. Again, this is a military dude that was able to, and a strong guy who got rid of everybody and was locked in and too afraid. Eventually, with the right pushing and nudging and support, he was able to come out of it. But just keep that in mind when you're thinking about your own child and your own situation, about what you hope is possible, but at the same time what you know as a reality, the challenges that they're facing. That's why you just got to keep doing things to talk to the inner child that's in all of us, the inner child that's in your child, no matter what age they are, that they want to be loved, that they want to feel a sense of belonging, they want to be able to love you, but they may be in a situation where they're locked in the complete opposite way. But for Carolyn and her husband and that entire family, they got the family back together. There's new challenges, but now they can face it together. So I hope this helps. I hope this inspires you. I hope this makes you feel like, you know what, if that's possible, and knowing what Ryan heard from this other, from this man, of what he was going through, and that the work that the parents were doing, even though they couldn't see the progress, that it actually was working. I want that to bring you hope and inspiration. So that's the story for today. I will see you tomorrow with day 4 of our 10 days of hope.